In a small one-room apartment in Mushin, Lagos, Grace woke up at 4:30 a.m. as she had done every day for the past 2 years. Her husband Thomas lay sleeping on their worn mattress, his phone charging beside him, the only item in their home that seemed to always have power, even when they couldn't afford to refuel their small generator. Grace tied her wrapper tight and prepared to head to the market where she sold akara and pap each morning. The rent was due in 2 weeks and she was still 15,000 naira short. "Where are you going?" Thomas mumbled, barely opening his eyes. "To the market, my husband, the same place I go every morning." Thomas turned over and went back to sleep. Grace picked up her borrowed cooler and headed out into the dark Lagos streets. At the Mushin Market Junction, Grace set up her small store. Other market women greeted her with a mixture of pity and respect. "Ah, Grace, you are here again, no? That's your husband, Seth. When will he find work?" asked Mama Chidi, the vegetable seller. Grace smiled weakly. "God's time is the best. He's trying his best." "Trying, ke?" Mama Chidi sucked her teeth. "The only thing that man is trying is how to drain your strength. I see him every afternoon at that betting shop, laughing with those useless boys." Grace's smile faded, but she said nothing. She had heard these comments for 2 years now. Thomas had lost his job as a bank security guard and claimed he was looking for work, but each evening he returned home empty-handed, smelling of cheap beer. By noon, Grace had made 3,500 naira. Every kobo counted. Patience, their neighbor in the next room, was known throughout the compound as Radio Nigeria because whatever she saw, the whole of Lagos would hear. She watched everything from her window like CCTV camera. For weeks, Patience had noticed something strange. Every Tuesday morning, Thomas would dress up nicely, spray his last bottle of perfume, and take it down for bus out of Mushin. He would return hours later looking satisfied, sometimes even whistling. One Tuesday, Patience's curiosity finally won. She followed him. Thomas got down at Yaba and walked straight to a small office with a faded sign, "Mega Millions Lottery, claim your winnings here." Patience hid behind a pure water seller's cart, watching. Thomas emerged 20 minutes later, stuffing an envelope into his pocket and looking around nervously before heading to a nearby beer parlor. Patience's eyes widened like saucers. Lottery winnings. This man has been winning lottery while Grace is suffering. Ah, this one pass movie. She confronted the lottery agent, pretending to check her own ticket. "That man wey just come out now a regular customer." The agent, eager to attract customers, boasted, "Ah, Oga Thomas, he don't win lucky o. Every month for the past 8 months, na they collect him 500,000 naira. Some people just get luck." Patience nearly fainted. 4 million naira, while Grace is frying akara with borrowed oil. That evening, Patience couldn't contain herself. She knocked on Grace's door with the force of last mile official. Grace, open this door. I have gist that will shock you to your bone marrow." In Patience's room, over a bottle of Fanta, Patience spilled everything. Grace sat frozen, her Fanta untouched. 500,000 naira every month for 8 months? Grace's voice was barely a whisper. "My sister, I follow am with my 2 eyes. The agent even confirm am for me. Your husband is a millionaire, but you still dey suffer." Grace stood up slowly. "Thank you, Patience. Please, I beg you, don't tell anyone yet." Patience looked disappointed. She had already planned how to announce it, but she agreed. "Okay, but Grace, what will you do?" "I don't know yet, but I will do something." For 3 weeks, Grace said nothing, but she watched Thomas with new eyes. She noticed how his belly was fuller than hers, how he always had airtime on his phone, how he made excuses to go out every evening while she stayed home counting coins by candlelight. The other market women noticed Grace's silence. "That Patience don't tell her something," Mama Chidi whispered. "See how she just dey look her husband like hawk." One night, Thomas came home late, smelling of pepper soup and star beer. Grace was still awake, mending clothes by the light of her small rechargeable lamp. "You never sleep?" she asked, surprised. "I'm working, my husband. Someone must pay the rent next week." Thomas shifted uncomfortably and went to bed. Grace continued sewing, her jaw set like stone. The following Sunday, the landlord called a compound meeting to discuss security and NEPA bills. All the tenants gathered in the corridor, about 15 families squeezed together. As the meeting was ending, Grace stood up. Her quiet voice cut through the chatter. "Please, before everyone leaves, I want to ask this compound for advice on a matter." The corridor fell silent. Even the children stopped playing. Everyone knew Grace never spoke up. "Go on, my daughter," said Papa Ngozi, the oldest tenant. Grace's hands trembled, but her voice grew stronger with each word. "For 2 years, I have been the only one working in my marriage. I wake up at 4:30 a.m. to fry akara. I wash clothes for people. I have sold my jewelry, my wrappers, everything, all to keep food on our table and pay our rent." Thomas, sitting at the back, tried to stand up, but Mama Chidi's large hand pushed him back down. "Sit down there. Let her talk." 3 weeks ago, Grace continued, "I discovered that my husband has been collecting 500,000 naira every month from lottery winnings for 8 months. While I begged for credit from market women, while we ate gari and groundnut for dinner, while I cried myself to sleep worrying about rent, he had 4 million naira hidden away." The compound erupted. Shouts of "ah," and "wickedness" filled the air. Thomas looked like he wanted the ground to swallow him. "Is this true?" the landlord demanded, his voice booming. Thomas stood up sweating despite the cool evening breeze. It's not like that, oh. I was planning to surprise her. I wanted to gather enough money to start a big business, then I would tell her." "Surprise?" Mama Chidi's voice could wake the dead. "You want to surprise her into an early grave? While she's frying akara at 5 a.m., you are surprising her, Abi?" "How much surprise you need?" Papa Ngozi added. 4 million naira is not enough surprise. You wanted to wait until she collapsed?" Patience jumped up, unable to stay quiet any longer. "I saw him all every Tuesday at Yaba. And you know what else? The lottery agent said he's been spending plenty money on drinks and betting on more lottery tickets. This man is using lottery money to play more lottery instead of helping his wife." The crowd's anger intensified. In Yoruba, Igbo, and Pidgin English, they shouted their disgust. Grace raised her hand, and surprisingly, the compound quieted. There was something in her bearing that commanded respect. "I want to confess something too," she said, and everyone leaned forward. "I have known about this money for 3 weeks. Confusion rippled through the crowd. Patience's mouth hung open. "I knew, and I said nothing. I wanted to test something. You see, that night after Patience told me, I thought about my mother's words. She always said, 'Grace, poverty can reveal a man's character, but so can sudden wealth.'" She looked directly at Thomas. "For 3 weeks, I watched you. I waited to see if your conscience would prick you. I prayed that maybe, just maybe, you would come to me and confess. That you would say, 'Grace, I have been foolish, but now let us use this money together.'" Her voice cracked slightly. "But instead, you bought new clothes while mine were patched. You drank beer while I drank water. You slept well while I stayed awake worrying. You had the cure for our suffering in your pocket, but you let me suffer." Papa Ngozi stood up, his face grave. "This matter is serious. In our culture, a man who has food and watches his wife starve is not a man at all." The landlord nodded. "Thomas, bring that money here. Now. All of it." But it's my money. I won it," Thomas protested. "Your money?" Mama Chidi laughed bitterly. "Brother, in marriage, there is no my money. There is our money, especially when your wife is suffering." Faced with the unified anger of the entire compound, Thomas had no choice. He went to his room and returned with a Ghana must go bag. Inside were bundles of naira notes that made everyone gasp. Papa Ngozi counted it with trembling hands. 3.2 million naira remaining. He has spent 800,000 naira on his enjoyment while his wife suffers. The landlord turned to Grace. "My daughter, what do you want? This compound will support whatever you decide. If you want to divorce this useless man, we will be your witnesses. If you want to take all the money and start fresh, we will help you pack. What do you say?" All eyes turned to Grace. This was her moment. Even the mosquitoes seemed to stop buzzing in anticipation. Grace took a deep breath. "I will take 1.5 million naira. This is for all the suffering, the sleepless nights, the hunger, and the betrayal." Thomas looked relieved. At least she wasn't taking everything. "The remaining 1.7 million naira will stay with Papangozi to hold for one condition. Thomas must walk alongside me for the next 6 months. Every day, he will wake up at 4:30 a.m., he will help me fry akara, he will carry loads, he will know what it means to hustle for every naira." She stepped closer to Thomas, her eyes blazing with a fire no one had seen before. "If after 6 months, you have shown that you can be a true partner, not just in good times, but in the daily grind of life, then we will share the remaining money equally and start a proper business together. But if you fail, if you complain, if you go back to your lazy ways, then I will take that money, divorce you, and start my life fresh. Papangozi and this compound will be our witnesses." The transformation was the talk of Mushin. Every morning, people watched Thomas and Grace walk to the market together, both carrying coolers. Thomas learned to wake at 4:30 a.m. His soft hands developed calluses from stirring pap and frying akara. The first week, he complained endlessly. The second week, he tried to quit, but Papangozi reminded him of the alternative. By the third week, something began to change. Thomas started to see the respect customers showed Grace. He felt the exhaustion she had lived with for 2 years. He experienced the small joy of making an honest sale. And slowly, painfully, shame transformed into something else, understanding. One morning, as they set up their stall, Thomas said quietly, "I'm sorry, Grace. I didn't know. I didn't understand what you went through." Grace didn't respond immediately. She was tired of words. But over the following months, she watched his actions, and his actions finally began to match his words. On the 6th month, the compound gathered again. Papangozi brought out the remaining money. "Grace, what is your decision?" he asked. Grace looked at Thomas. His skin was darker from the sun, his body leaner from hard work, but his eyes were clearer than they had been in years. She said, "We will take the money together, and we will open a proper restaurant, but this time we will build it together as equals." The compound erupted in cheers and applause. Mama Chidi wiped tears from her eyes. Even Patience looked satisfied. Thomas knelt before Grace in front of everyone. "Thank you for not giving up on me. Thank you for teaching me what it means to be a real man." Grace helped him to his feet. A wise woman built her home, but she doesn't build it alone. Stand up. From now on, we stand together. And so they did. Their restaurant, Grace and Thomas Buka, became known throughout Mushin, not just for the delicious food, but for the story of how a faithful wife's wisdom transformed a foolish husband into a true partner. Moral: true wealth is not in money hidden away, but in partnership, honesty, and the courage to demand respect while offering grace.